Alright, people, midweek report time. So, actually, a lot to talk about over the coming 20 plus minutes. I want to start with this because I actually planned on doing a video of it, but time wise, I just didn't have a chance yesterday to record it. I actually have a video outstanding that I still haven't had a chance to even trim down and upload, which I might do. Well, it's still kind of relevant, so I might do it later on this evening. We'll see. But Joshua Buatsi versus Anthony Yarde, I seen on Boxing Scene that this was looking likely that it was going to, get the two thumbs up. And according to this article here, Joshua Buatsi versus Anthony Yarde and Chris Billam-Smith versus Richard Riakporhe could take place on the same show. CBS's trader Shane McGuigan has revealed. It apparently CBS versus Riakporhe is agreed. Buatsi versus Yarde need to be finalised to make it happen, but we have heard rumblings, certainly from Ben Shalom amongst others, that this is good to go. And with Yarde, we only seen Zach Parker the weekend. I laughed. I don't know, obviously Zach Parker, Anthony Yarde, but yeah, we heard that name being mentioned with Yarde. Why? I don't know. Pointless fight for Yarde at this stage. But look, Zach Parker obviously wanted to make a crack at light heavyweight. Better he doesn't, especially seeing how he looked last time around. But there was talk that they could see Yarde on the Matchroom versus Queensbury show. I had to think there for a sec. The Matchroom versus Queensbury show against Callum Smith. There was talk of that, but looked likely we're going to get this fight. And to be honest with you, Buatsi versus Yarde, okay. It's a great fight. It's going to probably be, well, if it's judging by what CBS's trainer McGuigan here is saying, CBS versus Riakporhe is going to be on Sky because they're both with Boxer, so it's going to be on Sky Sports. Buatsi obviously is a Boxer fighter. He fights on Sky. Yarde obviously TNT and Queensbury. Now, we have seen obviously with the Day of Reckoning show. We also seen it with the Knockout Chaos show, which happened a couple of weeks ago. That TNT, Sky, The Zone, they're willing to, share broadcasting rights. Now, that happens to be in Saudi, where obviously they're making insane amounts of money, and they're obviously happy to do it. I would imagine that these fights would be in the UK. I would imagine, and I'd be very surprised if they don't. What way would that go? Because, it's going to be Yarde, essentially. I would imagine he's going to have to go to Sky to fight that, because if it's going to be on the same show, well, it's an all-Sky show, so far anyway. So what way would they do that? I know they have done that, where some of Frank Warren fighters have gone on to Boxer shows in the past and gone on there, and actually I think they've won. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Buatsi Yarde, love the fight. Absolutely love it. They've been linked with one another since, well, I think pretty much since Buatsi turned pro. We've heard Buatsi Yarde, Buatsi Yarde, Buatsi Yarde, and now we see him. And it makes sense, to be honest with you, because they're waiting to see, obviously, what happens with Beterbiev Bivol. If Beterbiev and Bivol are fighting one another, and there may be a rematch clause, we don't know. I'm not 100% sure on that. But if they're, tied up for the next year, there you go. Why not just fight in Anthony Yarde and have a fight like this? It's a big fight. And at the end of the day, I've said this about light heavyweight. Even the loser of this fight, even that as he is, light heavyweight is so thin on the surface. When you take out Bivol Beterbiev, you really have nobody. In the grand scheme of things, yes, you have Buatsi, you have Yarde, you have Aziz, you have Vodsek. But when you look at it, then you're like, well, there's not much else. Ben Whitaker is up and coming. So there's not a great deal amount there. So you could win or lose this fight and still have a very good chance of picking up a title if they, get vacated, if they become division becomes fragmented, I should say. Then you have a great chance of picking up a title. So why not? Neither guy is getting any younger. They're both from London. I think Buatsi is from Croydon. Yarde is originally from Hackney on the East. I think he lives in Ilford now, which is just, it is London. It is London, Ilford, if anyone, it is London. It's not quite Essex, it's London. So yeah, why not do the fight? I think it'd be good. I think stylistically it'd be a fun fight. I would be favouring Anthony Yarde. I would just favour Anthony Yarde. I know, Tunde Ajayi, a lot of people, I think a lot of people don't like Yarde, or maybe are hypercritical of Yarde because they really don't like Tunde. And I 100% see where you're coming from with that. But Yarde is a good fighter. He is. He needs to do a little bit more. I don't like to take a big fight and then way down the levels, like serious drop downs. I don't like that. This is a very good fight, and I hope to God we get to see it. I genuinely do. I really do. I would be favouring Yarde as of right now, but you never know. Closer to the fight, who knows? Wait and see when it gets announced. In terms of a fight that is announced, and yeah. So, Lawrence Okolie will challenge Lucas Rozansky for WBC Bridgerweight World Title on May the 24th in Poland. Yeah. Okolie was going to be the face of Sky Boxing. He's now fighting for a Bridgerweight title in Poland. Yeah. Now, listen, it's not just the bad performances, and they have been stinkers. They really have been. It's not just the fact that a lot of people wouldn't even class the Bridgerweight title as anything really. I mean, I think even on BoxRec, I don't even think they had it down as world title fights. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it's not really looked at as anything major. It's a silly title that really, it's WBC being the WBC. What can you do, right? But to go from headlining, quote unquote, well, he was headlining, but they were trying to build him up as the face of Sky Boxing. Now he's going over to Poland to pick up a Bridgerweight title. It's just crazy. And when you look at how acrimonious and how much animosity there was there with his split from Hearn, at the time Hearn was putting Okolie on at the O2 on a Sunday. It wasn't doing good numbers, wasn't selling amazing. He wasn't going to be able to pay him the same amount of money, obviously, and this was only 2 years after, restrictions and stuff like that. So obviously, belts are going to be tightened. Fast forward a little over a year later, Hearn, Warren, they're in with the Saudis. They're doing great shows. Lawrence Okolie could be fighting Ajay Apataya, could have been unifying with Ajay Apataya on a show in Saudi for insane amounts of money. Instead, he's going to Poland to fight Lucas Rozansky for a Bridgerweight title. I mean, that's just, there you go. Sometimes you need to look a little bit further ahead instead of making a reactionary decision. And then burning bridges on top of that, because I'd be surprised if Eddie Hearn works with Okolie, especially after some of the things Okolie was saying. That just, honestly. But that's Lawrence Okolie. He's going to be fighting Lucas Rozansky. I expect him to beat Rozansky. He's nothing to write home about. Lucas Rozansky has even fought since he beat Alan Babbage last year. But, yeah, what is Lawrence Okolie going to do moving forward? Is he going to go up to heavyweight full-time, or what is he going to do? So, remains to be seen. Gervonta Davis versus Frank Martin and David Benavidez versus Alexander Vodcek are being planned to take place on the same show. Jose Benavidez Sr. revealed the June the 15th Amazon Prime pay-per-view. I forgot that it's been about a year since we've seen Tank Davis, and by the time he gets in the ring, it will probably be over a year, which is a bit of a shame, because I've always spoke highly of Davis. I do like watching him. I do think he's a very good fighter. He's got a lot of talent. I like to see the activity, which we're not really seeing, but it's a endemic problem with PBC at this stage. And you want to talk about inactivity, I'm going to read you this. Tszyu will now face Sebastian Fundora for the WBO and vacant WBC Super Welterweight World title. So I would imagine it's now going to be at 154 as opposed to 155. It's only £1 of difference. Keith Thurman has been ruled out due to an injury. I mean, Keith Thurman and PBC. Keith Thurman, 2014, I believe he became WBA champion at 147. And he had one fight in 15. Correct me if I'm wrong, it might have been against Leonard Bundu. Might be wrong on that one. He fought Sean Porter in 16. He fought Garcia in 17. Danny Garcia, unified, got the WBC title. Didn't fight then until January 2019 against Lopez. Didn't fight then. Sorry, no, he did. He fought twice in 2019. He fought Manny Pacquiao in summertime, about July time. I think it was on the same night as Dylan White versus Oscar Rivas. And then he doesn't fight until February 2022, thereabouts. We're now in March 2024, going into April. And yeah, Keith Thurman, I rated him so highly when he was one time in his prime. That's a long time ago now. In the last decade, he's been a part-time fighter. In the last decade. That's absolutely insane. And, it's recurring. It's this recurrent thing with PBC. Inactivity, 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 inactivity. Say what you want about Devin Haney. Say what you want about Ryan Garcia. Say what you want about those guys. But at least they're flipping fighting. At least they're fighting sometimes 2 to 3 times a year. Whereas with PBC, with someone like Tank Davis, Keith Thurman, God knows we're lucky to see them once a year. Deontay Wilder. I mean, lucky to see them once every 12 to 14 months. And, you know, PBC, and I don't know, it's just... And listen, look, Keith Thurman's injured. Injuries happen, and Thurman has been injury prone over the last few years. I get that, but still, you know, I like seeing fighters make the most of their ability while they're in their prime. I think Keith Thurman would have lost this fight, quite frankly. Sebastian Fundora, I've never really rated him. I haven't. I think Tszyu, it may be a slightly trickier fight for Tszyu, because bear in mind, you're getting ready for... Sebastian Fundora is especially given the fact that we're talking a fortnight out, you know, you were preparing for Keith Thurman, who is about 5'7". I think he's about 5'7", coming up from welterweight. Sebastian Fundora is what, 6'4", 6'5"? Thereabouts. You know, that is unusual to say the least for a 154 pounder. So it is going to be a bit of a shock to the... Whereas, look, Fundora, everyone he fights is smaller than him. So, you know, he's going to be training for someone smaller, and now he's going to fight, well, someone smaller. So it's going to be interesting to see. It might make it more competitive. I would favour Tszyu, and I would have definitely given... I was already picking him over Keith Thurman, but yeah, that's an interesting one. It is an interesting one. Again, you know, it's still on pay-per-view, by the way. But with Thurman, I mean, what is it? You know, I just... Yeah. In terms of actually Terence Crawford... He is now using his status as WBO Super Champion to automatically become mandatory challenger for Tszyu. So he will be mandated to face the winner at 154 pounds of their fight coming up in a fortnight's time. So Crawford looks as though it's going to be 154 pounds. The Eubank fight, I think that was just, you know, a little... I never really touched on it in videos. I didn't do a full dedicated video because I was kind of like, well, it doesn't make that much sense, and they're both trained by the same guy. We do need to ask what's going on with Eubank Jr., and I think that's a video in of itself, because what is going on with Eubank Jr.? But with Crawford, it looks like he's going to be targeting another belt, another weight that will make him a 4-division world champion if he goes up and is successful. I'd still love to see him fight Boots Ennis. I'd still love to see him fight Boots Ennis, but let's see what he does. Tyson Fury. So, I done a video, obviously, on Fury with the pad work. Now, I said in that video that I thought Fury looked okay. Yeah, it looked alright from what I could say. I was like, oh yeah, it looks reasonably okay. You know, it's pads. It's pretty straightforward to look good on pads. But I thought, okay, you know, the movement is alright, looks sharp. And I said as well, and I stand by this, that this is a 35-second clip. That does not tell you the whole story. As I said in the video, you could easily have a fairly lackluster training session where you're maybe looking a bit sluggish, you're not looking the best, and you literally someone goes, get my iPhone, record me, we're going to throw 15 seconds on, and you put everything into those 15 seconds, and you do look $1 million. You do look good. That's 15 seconds, right? It doesn't tell us it's not going to tell us anything. You get in on fight night and you're like, well, where was that? You know, where the hell was that guy? You know, you see that all the time. Those little snippet clips won't tell you the full story. How often have you seen a fighter in camp who's, you know, maybe uploaded an image or a video to their social media and you're like, oh, wow, you know, he's looking good, he's looking good. I'll give you an example. Alexander Povetkin looked quite good at the open workout for his rematch with Dillian Whyte. Alexander Povetkin, if you see the training footage, look good. How did he look on fight night? It's easy to look good. You know, especially when you're doing pads and stuff like that, and it would give people the perception like, oh wow, you know, this guy could be in trouble. You know, it could be pretty bad. I think that there's also other fighters who've looked, you know, you look at training footage and you're like, they don't look amazing. Amir Khan was one like that. I remember when he was, and obviously he lost the Canelo fight, so I'm not saying, you know, this proven right, but if you look at him in the run up to the Canelo fight on the pads with Virgil Hunter, he didn't look amazing. He really didn't. A lot of people had him winning the Canelo fight at the time of the stoppage, but he did look sharp come fight night. You know, so when you look at images and clips, you take them with a grain of salt. You really have to, and that's the way I'm looking at this Fury clip. Some people say, oh no, it's a given, you know, Fury. I think that with Fury, I think we're going to see a better Fury against Alexander than we did against Ngannou. But how difficult is it to get better than that? I would imagine not very. But are we going to see the Fury who fought Klitschko or the Fury who fought Wilder in the rematch? I don't think we will. I don't think we have that Fury anymore. The Wilder fight, the Wilder rematch was 4 years ago. It's a long time. 4 years is a long time. And a lot can change in someone, especially when you're in your 30s and mid-30s now with Tyson Fury, and someone who hasn't taken the best care of himself pretty much since the get-go of their pro career. And it's a long pro career. I think Fury turned pro in 07, 08. So it's not like, he's only been pro about, 8-9 years. He's been pro a lot longer than that, I mean, 07 is what, 17 years, thereabouts? Roughly thereabouts. So it's been like that for a while. So we'll know on fight night. I expect to see a better Fury, but I also expect to see a better Usyk. So it's going to be, I'm looking forward to the fight. That's what I will say on that. Emmanuel Navarrete will face Denis Baranchyk for the WBO vacant lightweight title. I always look forward to seeing Navarrete. I think he's a very, very good fighter. I think he's absolutely fantastic, quite frankly. What else do we have? I want to address some of the things Canelo has been saying, but before I do that, we'll talk about Filip Hergovich, Daniel Dubois in the works for June the 4th in Saudi Arabia, according to Hergovich's co-trainer Ronnie Shields. As I said, I love that fight. I think it's a very good fight. I think it's a very winnable fight for both guys. I think when I look at it, I'm not looking and saying it's one-sided for Hergovich or it's one-sided for Dubois. I say it's very competitive. I think that Daniel Dubois, coming off the back of that win over Jarrell Miller, he seems a more confident individual. He seems happier in himself. He's going to know that he can come through those rough patches against someone who's really putting it on him, come through and win. Whereas Hergovich, as I said, the Zhilei Zhang fight, you could look at that and say it was an anomaly. He had stuff going on outside the ring. Zhang is better than we thought, fair enough. Dempsey McKean, a year later, looked just as bad, if not worse, and then goes and he fights Mark Demori, of all people. Forgot to Mark Demori. So coming into this fight, if it happens, you would say the form, you probably look at Daniel Dubois and say slightly better form. Whereas Hergovich, I think there is a good fighter in there with Filip Hergovich. I really do, and there's a very good fighter there. But it's a few things. Mentally he needs to be switched on. Physically, he needs to lose a bit of timber. He has to. He's not he's not obese or anything like that, but you can see he's carrying a bit more timber than he was 5-6 years ago, and I think that can be taken off, and I think he'll be all the better for it. I really do. And looking at that fight, it's competitive. It's a great fight. The winner basically is guaranteed a world title fight next at one of the champions, or at the very least a vacant title. So I like the fight. June the 1st, that's the same day as Beterbiev Bivol, so a great co-main event, an absolutely phenomenal co-main event. I really, really like it. In terms of fights that we have to look forward to this coming weekend, I'm not off to it. And Sheffield, even if I wanted to, from Dublin to Sheffield is not straightforward. I'd be quicker going to London and then getting the train up to Sheffield than I would be anything else. But Sheffield is the location up in Yorkshire. Dalton Smith, Jose Zepeda. It's not a bad little card. James Flint versus Campbell Hatton. I haven't been impressed with Campbell Hatton. I've said this once, I'll say it again. Since he turned over, or since he started his pro career, this is his 15th pro fight. On paper, you would look at James Flint and say, okay, he's 2 losses, 1 draw, 3 stoppages. Could he be a competitor for Campbell Hatton? Let's see. He drew his last fight over 10. That was for a Central Area title to a guy who was 5-1. So, alright. Lost to Dom Hunt, who was undefeated. That was for an area title, so he can't seem to pick that area title up. Lost to Lee Connolly, drew at Lee Connolly, who was a journeyman. That's not a good look drawn with journeyman. Like Lee Connolly, 8 wins, 84 losses. He is one of those I've never seen this. The Violent Vegan. That's his nickname, the Violent Vegan. That's a first. I've never seen that one. The Violent Vegan. He's not fought since 2022 with Lee Connolly. But yeah, I would imagine Campbell Hatton. But saying that, like some of Campbell Hatton's fights you look at and you're just like, what the hell? So let's see how he looks in that. Ishmael Davis versus Troy Williams. I like that fight. Troy Williams always comes to fight. I do enjoy watching him. Let's see. He lost his last fight against Kevin Jago, and that was in Belfast. That was actually back on the undercard of Conlon versus not Lee Wood, what's his name? Jordan Gill. Now, it was a split decision, and to be fair, like, when you look at the two scorecards who gave Kevin Jago the fight, they were way too wide. It was a competitive fight. Kevin Jago won, in my opinion, but it was a very competitive fight. Very competitive. So, Troy Williams always in it. He's always game. Let's see. And obviously, Dalton Smith versus Jose Zepeda. Zepeda coming in off the back of a loss to Richardson Hutchins. He was stopped by Regis Prograis, November 22. I remember his absolute war with Ivan Barancek. That was in the bubble. I think it was in the theater bubble in Las Vegas in October 2020. If you've never seen that fight, that was unbelievable. Knockdowns, Zepeda down twice in the first round. He was down in rounds 2 and 5, so he was down several times, and he came back to drop Barancek several times and take him out in 5 rounds. It honestly, like, I go back, there's certain fights you just have to go back and watch at least once a year just to be like, God damn. And that's one of them. That is one of them. Amazing fight. Really was. But that pretty much took everything out of him. It really did. So, Dalton Smith, I like watching Dalton Smith. It's going to be interesting to see if he wins, because you always got to, it's not a foregone conclusion, but if he wins, will they mention Adam Azim? I would like to see him fight Adam Azim. It's a domestic clash. I'd be favouring Dalton Smith, quite frankly. Let's wait and see. Francis Ngannou was dropped out of the top 10 of the WBC rankings, now ranked 24th, following his KO loss to Anthony Joshua. How does a loss get you a top 10 ranking? You know, you want to rank him, fine. But how does a loss get you a top 10 ranking? Now it's not a top 10 ranking. Now he's still in the top 20. But, you know, I answers on a postcard how that gets you a top 10 ranking. I don't know. I seen this, and this was from Canelo. See if I can find the article, because I actually did a video on this. I just haven't uploaded it yet. Whether I do or not, we'll wait and see. But it was with regards David Benavidez and money. Money makes the world go round. And it was, oh yeah, here it is. This is something I didn't want to be talking about. He told reporters that he would want 150 mil to 200 mil to fight Benavidez. Canelo, like, what the hell? That's Tyson Fury. That's literally Tyson Fury pricing himself out. That's what he was saying in the run-up. But when Joshua was getting ready to fight Usyk, or it might have been just after, he was talking about fighting Joshua on free-to-air and giving the tickets away for free. And then in another interview, he'd say, I want 500 mil to fight Alexander Usyk. And seeing how his behaviour was around about this time last year, before the Saudis intervened, before Usyk looked a little bit vulnerable, and they wrote him Fury a check that he just couldn't say no to. This is literally pricing themselves out, you know. And Canelo Alvarez is WBC. Well, he's undisputed champion at 168. Benavidez is WBC mandatory challenger. You know, defend your title. If you don't want to fight Benavidez, give that title up. If you don't want the responsibility of being champion, give that up. Yes, he's fighting Jaime Munguia. I like the fight. It's a good fight. It's entertaining. But with that, it goes the excuse of, I can't fight Mexican. Jaime Munguia is Mexican. You can fight him. So you can fight Benavidez as well, who's from Arizona, Mexican-American. Unreal. I want to see Alvarez fight Benavidez as much as the next guy, and I would hope that they can try and do that fight, because he's going to fight in September, isn't he? So is he going to fight Benavidez, or who is he going to fight? I don't want to hear that stuff from Alvarez. I really don't. I really, really don't. Stuff you just don't want to be hearing. In terms of other news, let's have an old look-see and see what else there is. Let's have a look on the old boxing scene. Isaac Cruz warns Rolly Romero to fight as boldly as he talks. Yeah, Isaac Cruz is going to beat the living crap out of Rolly. He's going to beat the living crap out of Rolly Romero. There's just no ifs or buts on that one. Bam to leave the flyweight division behind to chase Estrada. Apparently that fight is looking like it's a done deal. I love Juan Francisco Estrada, as you know, but I think Bam Rodriguez is a exceptional talent. He really is. He is an exceptional talent. I think Bam Rodriguez, Eddie Hearn really, he's cashed in gold there with Bam Rodriguez. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. What else is there? Oh, yeah, I seen this. So, Huey Fury. Read this here. Huey Fury breaks his 3-year inactivity spell with return on April the 20th. It's going to be at the Magna Carta Centre in Rotherham, and it's going to be part of GBM Sports. So that will be live on TalkSport and YouTube. I like GBM Sports. It's one of the things I like about them is that they broadcast it to YouTube. They have TalkSport intervene, and they had Adam Smith on their last show, I believe, or it might have been the previous show, but they had him doing the commentary. Huey Fury was, when he fought last, which was, as he said, nearly 3 years ago, October 2021 against Hammer, that was on a boxer show. So he fought on Sky Sports, and that was who he was promoted by. Now, apparently, is he with GBM? I mean, it's not a horrible platform to be on. Certainly not. They're putting on some very good shows. But in terms of the big names in the UK, they're not quite there yet. But they're making good moves, GBM Sport. They really are. Again, the shows they're doing, they're free. We're seeing European titles. We're seeing good domestic clashes. On a Friday night, there you go. Free boxing on YouTube. You cannot complain. It's like, when they put boxing on domestic fights on, free to air, Channel 5, ITV, something like that. Why would you complain? It's great. People are able to view it. They're able to watch it. People are able to get their name out there. I love it. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Huey Fury on that show, am I expecting much from Huey Fury? His record is 26 wins, 3 defeats, 15 KOs. He's been out of the ring for nearly 3 years. I've never really expected that much from Huey Fury. They can't use the age as an issue now because that was, 7 years ago they were still using that. Well, Huey Fury's got to be, 30 years old thereabouts. He's had an illness. They haven't disclosed it, nor should they. It's perfectly fine. Keep that private and confidential. He has had issues with his health, whatever they may be. That's his business. Keep it private. But yeah, one thing about Huey Fury is you've seen over the course of his career his weight fluctuate. And I don't mean in a sense if he's come in looking like, the Michelin Man and then come in and look like Mr. Universe. But there has been times where he's come in like 240 and he's not looked particularly fat. And then, a camp later, a couple of months later, he's coming into the 210s and you're like, oh, wee, that's a big jump. And you didn't look out of shape before. It's like, what is going on? He's had those issues for many years. I think even before he fought Joseph Parker for a world title. So I don't know. I don't expect Huey Fury to do a great deal. I never really did. And 3 years out of the ring, yeah, let's see what he can do. I'll leave it with this. Mike Tyson training with the medicine ball. He's been uploading many clips of himself to social media doing training. And as I said about Tyson Fury, a couple of clips of someone training, looking good in training, does not mean that you are back to your best. Mike Tyson, people still think he can make a run of heavyweight today. And I point out, have you ever heard of Kevin McBride? No, mainly casuals who would say, well, have you ever heard of Kevin McBride? No, I've never heard of Kevin McBride. Well, Mike Tyson lost to him in 05-06, nearly 20 years ago. Kevin McBride, I think, has about 10 losses. Kevin McBride's basically a journeyman, or was, even by the standards of then. He wouldn't be doing much today. That was nearly 20 years ago. Mike Tyson. Do you really think he's going to come back and have a run when the heavyweight division is even better now than it was? And Kevin McBride's of the world would probably be journeyman. If you were fighting a Kevin McBride level today, what would that be? A Chisora? A peak Chisora thereabouts? Yeah. Him against Jake Paul, it's going to be on Netflix. They are going to make an absolute bomb. They're going to do insane views. But yeah, if it's a pro fight and it goes on the record, Mike Tyson has 6 losses. He'll probably, more than likely, definitely have 7 come the end of the summer. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. There you go. There you go. So let me know your thoughts on everything I talked about in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. And subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. And for now, I'll leave it there. Peace.